really excited to explain more about the Women in Innovation grant and give you some tips to help you kind of apply for it. So just a little bit of an introduction to myself. So my name is Dr. Chloe Sharp, and I'm head of grants here at MPA. I also kind of wear another hat, which is outside of MPA. I'm the founder of Sharp Insight, and through that, I'm the author of Make Products That Matter, which is a book all about research throughout product development. And through that, I do research and innovation coaching. But today I'm going to be focusing on the Women in Innovation grant. I was really lucky to be a mentor for one of the awardees on the last round, and it was really great to see her grow throughout the grant duration, which was about a year. Okay, so if you have any questions or anything, just pop them into the chat or into the questions, which is a chat box at the top with a question mark, and I'll have a look at these as I go through. Okay, so just to kind of get started, really, I wanted to show this this stat really, which was really surprising. So back in 2016, only 14% of lead applicants for Innovate UK funding competitions were represented by women. And you can kind of see the spread here across the different industries. And I just found this really, really surprising. But the good news is that this has changed a lot, in some ways due to this particular competition. So since 2016, now 2024, 10 million has been awarded to women in innovation since 2016. They've supported 200 winners, and they've seen an increase of over 70% of women applying for the Innovate UK competitions, including obviously Women in Innovation. And they've got a huge community of nearly 10,000 people. So I think the network and the community really is a big draw to this particular competition. So what I'm going to do today through this lightning session is I'm going to talk to you a bit more about the competition for about 15 minutes, which leaves us about 10 minutes at the end for questions. So if you have any questions, make sure you put them in the chat. Okay, so I wanted to explain a bit more about the award itself. So what is the Women in Innovation Award? So there are there's £75,000 up for grabs. So the in terms of eligibility, the award funding has to be up to 75,000. It can't go over. It's non-repayable, so that means that it doesn't work like a loan. You don't need to pay it back. It's non-dilutive, which means it works differently from equity funding, for example, angel or venture capitalist funding, which is where you have to kind of give away shares, but that doesn't really work like that with grant funding. You're not giving any part of your business away. It's completely non-dilutive. The main focus of the award, is this innovation project, which we'll go into a little bit more detail later. And this award means that you can access a wide network and a community. As I kind of mentioned previously, they've got a huge community of nearly 10,000 people. So in terms of the key information, the award opened on the 13th of May and it closes on the 10th of July. I wanted to kind of highlight this bit here in terms of the funding. So it's 100% funding. 100% funded, so you don't need to provide any match funding, which is usually what happens for other competitions, which is where you have to provide some money of your own upfront alongside the grant funding. But here it's 100%. And if you are successful, the grant funding is paid in 2 instalments. So 90% is paid upfront in December, and 10% is paid at the end once you've got the final claim and the independent accountant report and the project close form. So in terms of the independent account report, that's something to kind of bear in mind as an additional cost to the running of the competition. So I've got a question here. So are there sectors that are preferred recipients? As far as I understand it, it's quite broad. There are certain sectors which aren't eligible for this competition that's outlined in the scope. But I can show you the scope a little bit later. I can show that at the end. Okay, so in terms of eligibility, you need to be a single applicant and a resident in the UK. You need to be a woman founder or a co-founder or a senior decision maker in a micro or SME business. The company must be in a high growth stage, so not at a startup point. The business should be at least 12 months old on Companies House, and that kind of echoes the startup kind of point. Social enterprises are also considered if they meet the rest of the criteria. You're not eligible if you have been a past applicant or a past winner of Young Innovation, Women in Innovation, or the Inclusive Innovation Build competition. Your project should be tackling a societal, environmental, or economic challenge, and you need to demonstrate in your application how your project is tackling that and how the innovation is going to help solve that particular challenge. It needs to be game-changing and novel, and in terms of the subcontractors, so those who are helping you to deliver your project, that needs to be less than 50% of the total project costs. So those are the key things that I wanted to kind of highlight. So yeah, in terms of the definition of high growth, that's a really good question. We're going to share a link to a report which explains high growth in much more detail, which you should find really interesting and useful. It was a good read. So what I wanted to highlight here was the application itself. So don't underestimate the time it takes to write it. It can take quite a while to write grant applications, particularly the video part. I don't know about you, but when I record videos, I end up recording it again and again just because I want it to be really good, and my editing skills are a little bit not professional or anything, so it does take me a little while. So it's worth bearing in mind that you have got that video aspect to it, which might take longer than you might realise. So we've got the first 4 questions which are not scored. So we've got minimal financial assistance. So what this means is a company is eligible to up to £315,000 within a 3-year period of this particular type of assistance. So if you were to win this £75,000, then that would be deducted from that allowance. Animal testing is something that is now asked across all of the Innovate UK competitions. And here we've got the role model commitment aspect, because that's part of the eligibility and what they want you to commit to if you were to be an awardee, and also that you are looking for that further business support because it's very tailored in this particular competition. So in terms of the questions themselves, so the need or challenge, this looks at why you want to apply for this competition. So what business need or what market challenge are you seeing? So at this point, you would need to demonstrate that you have a really good understanding of the market and the problem. Then the approach and innovation, where you've got the optional appendix. I really like the appendices because it means that you can have a visual representation of what you're explaining in the question. But here it outlines what you think the solution looks like. And then we've got the plan for the awards. This is more around the project plan. And here we've got the appendices as well. So usually this is a risk register, a Gantt chart, and also a project plan. So this can really help to supplement what you're trying to say in the application. And also we've got added value and timeliness of the awards. So why now? Why is this going to help you grow? And that one does not have an appendix. So here you can see across the questions, there's a 20% weighting to each of them, which is different to the previous competitions. Make sure that you submit at least a day or two before the deadline, because typically the portal crashes because it gets a bit overloaded. So in terms of the significance for women entrepreneurs, the immediate impact is really this 75k grant funding. Also, you have access to a mentor, which runs throughout the whole year. So you get that support as and when you need it. So you can meet with your mentor sort of in a mutually agreed kind of way. We tended to meet every 2 to 3 weeks. It's really good for your personal brand because it increases your visibility, and as we were kind of explaining in the first part, there's like massive community, so your network grows significantly as well. And this competition helps to support business growth for women at that crucial stage of their business. So at that kind of it helps to propel that growth, that high growth that we were kind of talking about earlier in terms of that eligibility criteria. In the long term, it means that if you were to win this award and then in the future you become alumni, you still have access to that network and peers as well, because there's usually 50 awardees for women in innovation, so then you can support one another as well. The Innovate UK competitions usually add credibility to you and your business, so in the long run that can help you access funding and financing opportunities. And also we have that network effect, so you have that immediate visibility and your network grows, but that will keep growing sort of perpetually within the award and after, but also because of the opportunities that you're given in the process as to being an ambassador for the award, and also a role model for future applicants as well. So it's really good for your personal brand, raising awareness of what you're trying to do, your innovation, the problem that you're trying to solve, and your company. So just for the next sort of few minutes, I wanted to give you some tips as I write grant applications, and also I was a coach as well. So I've just got a couple of tips for you here. So the first one, in terms of writing the grant application, think of it as a story. So I like to use this analogy of a tree. So the trunk of the tree is the main story, and the application questions are kind of offshoots of that main story, but you're enabling yourself to go into different aspects of the story in more detail. So right at the very beginning, you would outline your story, and then as you're kind of going through it, you're explaining it in more detail. So there's no surprises as the assessor is going through it as to what they're finding and reading near the end. Also to consider that match between the grant competition and the project and the business. So is this the right is this the right competition for your business, the stage that your business is at right now, the project that you have in mind, and this particular competition. So it is important that they match, because you don't want to spend too much time writing something and applying for something that might not be a good fit for you. Also, make sure that you answer all the questions. This might sound really obvious, but a lot of the time the questions aren't answered fully. So what I do is I copy and paste the headings and the sort of subheadings that they want, and then turn those into sort of more shorter headings, and then bullet point each one, so that I'm making sure that I'm covering everything. Also, the marking scheme is available for these questions. In terms of these questions are kind of pick and mix from the Smart Grant. So if you were to Google, assessor matrix for the Smart Grant, then you'll be able to see that scorecard that they use to assess questions. So that's really useful when you're writing your grant. And also, it's a collaborative process. So you might be working with subcontractors, or maybe a grant writer, or other people in your team, maybe advisors. So that's why it's good to kind of consider the time and who you're working with, to make sure that you're getting as much support as you can throughout that process. So the second tip really is to demonstrate the key parts that are typically in a grant application. So the first one is the desirability. The second one is feasibility, and the third one is viability. So this is drawing from like design thinking and things. So here in desirability, you want to show that there is a market need, that your innovation is going to make a big impact. Then we have feasibility. So how feasible is this innovation project? So in this project plan, you would need to show that it is feasible and achievable, that you are able to deliver it, particularly with the subcontractors you might have in mind. And also it's viable. So in the long run, you're able to, make I guess commercialize it in a way that you're able to have a really strong go-to-market strategy, and in terms of the return on investment, that is for the taxpayer. So you're going to be able to create jobs and contribute significantly towards the economy. So in terms of the grant application, those are the 3 points that are usually covered. So these might not seem necessarily obvious in the questions themselves, but if you have a look at the subheadings, they're kind of covered throughout. Okay, so we've got about 9 minutes for any questions. Is there anything that you want to know about in particular? Just see if there's anyone that might have got a question up. Okay, so what I'll do, I will, oh, here we go. Have you seen many applications declined? Sometimes by not reading the criteria at the very beginning, and that eligibility, that can mean that applications are declined. So, for example, if it's over 75,000, or if your business hasn't been on Companies House for longer than 12 months, those kind of aspects can mean that it's declined. So it's really important to read the eligibility criteria really closely. Okay, thank you very much. So what are the biggest risk factors in applications? So the biggest risk factors are, in this case, would be to have subcontractors that are over 50%, because it shows that the R&D activity is happening outside of you and your business, and also not answering the questions properly and fully. They want to see a lot of evidence, and everything that you're saying is backed up by references in the application. So when that's not there, it doesn't sound, it kind of can sound quite salesy if it's not backed up by evidence. So it's quite academic in terms of the writing style. What shouldn't you say? As in what you should definitely not say. Just trying to think what you shouldn't say. I think over-promising, maybe trying to fit in too much in a project. So just think what would sound reasonable for 75,000, and what you feel you could deliver. I've seen applications where, and discussed as well, I guess, with startups, where they've tried to fit as much as they could in the project so it looked like value for money, but then when they went to deliver it, they just found it quite difficult, so they couldn't like fully deliver everything that they'd set out to. I've heard it's really competitive. How can you make yourself stand out? It is really competitive. I think on the briefing call there was around 1,000 people on that call, and it is really, really competitive. So I think making sure that you have a really strong innovation project, really show that you understand the wider policies, so government policies, maybe the UKRI strategy, to show how this fits in with how your project is going to address societal, economic, and I think the other one was environmental challenges. So I think if it's having a big impact on the UK in a positive way, then that can make you stand out. So if you've applied for this before and didn't win, can you apply again? Yes. So if you've applied before and you weren't successful, you can apply with the same application just one more time. If you've already applied for it twice and you didn't succeed on both those occasions, then you need to create a new project. You can't apply for the same competition with the same application more than 2 times. So if your previous application failed, then you can apply for it. But if it was successful, you won't be eligible for this particular competition. Okay, so previous Innovate UK grant winners have an advantage during this competition. I'm not really sure. Sorry, just get back into the questions. I'm not sure if they would have an advantage. I'm just trying to think why they would. I mean, in terms of understanding how to answer the questions, you'd have that advantage, perhaps. As long as it is strategic and there's no crossover, and it's showing that you're growing and it's timely for your business, then that's what they're really looking for, I think, in this competition. Okay, thank you very much for all your questions. Just to kind of wrap up, I just want to explain an offer that we have. So we've got group coaching. This is 4 weeks of support. So the first couple of weeks we will do 2 4-hour workshops, and then in the second couple of weeks and second sprint we'll have a review of your application. So in the workshops we'll focus on those questions, and the video, just to make sure that you're answering all of those questions, have the appendices and the eligible finances ready. So we have 2 cohort start dates. So the first one is from the 3rd of June and the second one is from the 10th of June. And also we have one-to-one grant reviews available as well at a discounted price. So we can send you some more information about that after. And also the links that we've provided will be available on a follow-up email, and so will this link to my diary if you wanted to have a chat. Also, I think my LinkedIn's just been popped up there as well, so if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I regularly share grant opportunities across lots of different industries. If you want to find out if you're eligible for the Women in Innovation competition, happy to have a chat. So this QR code gets access to my diary if you want to have a half-an-hour call. Just see if there's any more questions or anything just before we wrap up. Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming along today. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to connect or chat, just give me a shout on either through LinkedIn or through that chat, through the QR code. And yeah, I look forward to speaking to you soon. Thank you very much again for your time.